Hello, folks. This is Joe from MIGeekScene, and I'm here at the Grand Rapids Comic-Con with Cosplayer Extraordinaire, SuperKayce. SuperKayce, how are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. This is my first time at this show, so I'm really excited.
Welcome to Grand Rapids.
I actually have not been to many shows in Michigan all around, so I'm really excited.
What?
Yeah, I think in maybe the last 5 years, I've been to Michigan 3 times.
Where did you go?
3. Kalamazoo for Doki Dokon.
What? You were there earlier this year?
I was, yeah, for their first convention.
I was not even aware of that. I had to work that weekend, but wow, I was not even aware of that.
It was a cute little show. It was really good. They put a lot of hard work into it. And then Grand Rapids, and I'll have to think of a third one. I think I'm not even.
Not even Detroit.
I can't even think. No, I have never been to Detroit.
There are some some parts of Detroit that are quite nice, like around the Renaissance Center and Cobo Hall. Yeah, it's not as bad as like I used to think. Like, you know, the reputation of Detroit, like, ooh,
yeah,
you know.
It's quite beautiful up here right now at this time of year. I was afraid that you guys were gonna have like a lot of chillier weather than we do in Indiana, but it's actually quite nice.
We're actually going through a weird weather temperature spell because like a few weeks ago it was like in the 90s and it was like first day of fall, 90s, and I was like, happy fall, everybody. It was terrible. So I mean, next week we're supposed to be like in the 50s, and I'm so looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, it's a good time of year.
Fall is my season.
Me too. Yep, I agree.
Well, I'm at fall. I mean, you can cosplay all year, but obviously everyone has a major excuse around Halloween in the fall.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned at the beginning of this interview, she's a cosplayer. So what was your first intro to cosplay? Not you doing cosplay, but your first intro to it.
I mean, I would say that it would be coming off of the Halloween talk. I would say that that's probably the first thing. I mean, my mother always tried to make costumes, or we didn't have a ton of money growing up, so it was always kind of like hand-me-downs that she could modify or do something to. So I'd say my first actual experience with dressing up would have been Halloween.
Okay. Why did you choose Supergirl as your first cosplay?
You have done your research.
Yes, I have. Oh, we're going to get more into this, believe me.
So,
and no, that's not stalker.
No, I like it.
Oh, we're going to get into this.
All right,
I'm going to ask
do
you
it.
the
I'm ready.
hard-hitting
I'm
questions.
buckling down. Okay, so my first costume was Supergirl, and it really comes from that my first convention was the Superman celebration in Metropolis, Illinois, and you can't go to a Superman worshipping festival, basically, without bringing a super character. You need your Kryptonian. So I dressed as Kara, and it was like the worst costume ever, but I had so much fun, and people really liked it, and kids really liked it. And
I saw the photo of it. It's not terrible by any means.
It was okay.
Oh my goodness. Yes, this is from you doing this for years and critiquing yourself now looking back at that, but I'm pretty sure you're like, this was awesome.
Oh, back then I looked all through the photos after I posted my throwback. I was like, I'm going to look through those photos. I was like, I am cheesing it so hard the whole day.
So you're the type of artist that cannot stand their old work as you progress more and more, or do you have an appreciation for some of it? Like for me, like looking back at some of my older interviews, I'm like, oh, I would have asked different questions. Oh, I'm so awkward. I'm still awkward, but like, oh, I would do better. Like, I hate everything I do, but I still have an appreciation for it.
I do still take inspiration from it. So looking back at those Supergirl photos, I'm smiling a lot more, and I'm having a lot more fun. You can tell I'm just having like a general fun. Now it's a little bit more like, okay, if this gets online, is this a good pose?
Oh my goodness.
Is this a good pose? Am I looking good this way? Which is why Harley Quinn is one of my favorite costumes to wear now, because it's just, there is no wrong pose for her. If she's like on her head, flipped over, whatever, it's a good pose for her. So looking back at Supergirl, I have a lot of inspiration from her to remind myself to have fun and to enjoy the community itself. I do look back and I'm like, oh wow, 2009 me had no idea how to do makeup. 2009 me walked around without a wig on to complete the costume. So I know that I've grown as a cosplayer.
So what does the cosplay community mean to you?
Honestly, it means everything to me, because now it's a place where you can find a family. It's a place where people, in general, respect and love and encourage who you are as a person.
I feel that way about the geek community. I mean, that's why I always try to run a positive geek culture website instead of, you know, I mean, because there are people that have that nerdier than thou attitude, and no one really cares.
Yeah, I mean,
no one's ever been like, oh man, I want to hang out with you because your anime expertise level is a lot higher than those plebes out there. No one cares about that.
No.
But when you find those people that are into the same stuff as you, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make it about me, but when you're into the same stuff as you, don't you want to embrace those people instead of pushing them away?
No, and I totally agree. I always say that the cosplay community is amazing because it's fandoms colliding. So if I'm in Harley Quinn and somebody else is in, like, Natsu from Fairy Tail, we immediately are best friends. You know, I can be like, oh my goodness, come here, we have to talk about anime. And it's like two fandoms colliding. So it's an incredible feeling to find people who accept and encourage you.
Oh, I'm glad that you dropped Fairy Tail because
Yeah.
my next question is,
Oh.
have you attempted to create Ezra Scarlet cosplay while she's wearing her Heaven's Wheel armor? I know it's impossible, but...
I know it. It's my dream costume. It's my dream costume. So Urza in the show,
Oh,
she's...
sorry, Urza. I've not watched the show, so the folks out there be like, you mispronounced your name.
So Urza Scarlet, for those who haven't watched the show, is she's like an equipter. So she re-equips a lot of different outfits and huge armors and weapons. And in the show, she's wearing this metal, huge kind of dress with some wings behind her, and she's got floating swords around the top of her head. And it's incredible, and it's breathtaking, and she's such a badass, and it's so awesome. It makes me so happy. No, I haven't.
Are there any other dream cosplays that you would like to start?
Saber from the Fate series. It's another anime.
Like Fate Stay Night?
Yeah, Fate Stay Night and Fate Stay Zero and Unlimited Blade Works.
Never watched it, so I haven't.
Saber, same type of idea behind it's a very heavy armored dress. Nightmage and I, who's an incredible cosplayer who I know has been on your channel before, we are working on Hawkman and Hawkgirl for next year, and that's a pretty heavy dream costume for me.
Folks from Thanagar. So you brought up Nightmage. Man, you must be psychic. And I haven't even gone over these questions.
I was going to say, I haven't even seen them yet. So I'm trying to stay not looking at them.
Yeah.
Oh, son.
What was your first encounter with Nightmage, who happens to be quite the collaborator with you?
Yeah, so we are best friends and we're duo artists together. My first experience with him was at C2E2 2015 or 2016, one of those years. I had a bunch of people staying in my room at C2E2, and we got into the elevator. It was me, two other people. One of them was the photographer that was staying in our room. And this Predator got into the elevator with us, too, and he's just, like, this, like, Predator cosplayer.
Okay, I thought it was, like... No. Are we talking about, like...
I mean, I guess you could
Mr.
call
Hansen's going to show up, like, could you please take a seat for a moment?
I mean, you could say that about Nightmage, because he's
no,
so
no,
lame.
I am not...
Right?
No, I am not accusing... Nightmage of being on To Catch a Predator. Not at all.
I will accuse him of
all
this.
All right, that's solely her opinion, so please direct your lawsuits
You're welcome,
towards
Nightmage. So this Predator cosplayer got into the elevator with, and he's talking to Michael, who's the photographer with us, and they're just having this conversation. And I'm just like, who is this guy? And we're going up to our room, and he's following us to our room. And so we get in our room, and this Predator cosplayer comes into our room, and apparently he's going to shoot with our photographer friend. And he's like, hey, Casey, it's really nice that you said hi to me. And I'm like, I don't know who this is. And, of course, it happened to be Michael. And later on down the road, we met up, and he was like, yeah, so you kind of snobbed me in the elevator, didn't you? And I was like, I didn't know that's who you were. We hadn't met in person yet.
You big-timed him.
I did. And after that, we did Indie PopCon together, and he was Shredder, and I was Dawnstar from the Legion of Superheroes.
Okay.
And it was just kind of really fun after, and we started getting requests to do like Cloak and Dagger, which was our first duo together.
Okay. So I would like to veer away from the world of cosplay and go into more of your interest. So, favorite comic books?
I'm a DC fangirl, so it's going to go down to anything in the Gotham universe, usually is where I hit. Killing Joke, No Man's Land is one of my favorite storylines.
Long Halloween?
Oh, yeah, I mean...
By Tim Sale and Jeff Loeb.
I mean, it's just phenomenal
and Dark Victory,
work.
that's another good one, too.
it's just phenomenal stuff. If I have to go out of DC, I'm a huge proponent, a huge fan of The Walking Dead. I think it's some of the greatest comic book stuff we've ever seen.
We'll touch on a little bit of that stuff too.
Okay.
What were your thoughts on the new 52 run through DC? Yeah, that's about sums it up, folks.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. That's my answer.
All right, well, we'll segue into the next question. You mentioned The Walking Dead. Do you read any other indie comics?
I do, and I always say this one's wrong. It's the Last Man Standing X and Y, or Last Man X and Y.
Why the Last Man by Brian K. Vaughan.
It's phenomenal.
Oh, yes.
It's so good. I really haven't gone into a lot of indie comics.
Oh, Casey.
I know. I'm really sad.
There's so many good stories out there.
That's really the only two I'm reading. That's the only two that I've ever pulled is those two.
Preacher.
I started...
Garth Ennis, Steve Dillon. That's a fantastic comic. And I'm not talking about the show. I'm talking about, like, the comic series. And no, I'm not pulling that nerdier than thou thing.
No.
And I'm certainly not trying to school you, but that is amazing. Transmetropolitan by Warren Ellis. The Boys by... Oh, no. I want to say that's Garth Ennis, too. Those are some amazing comics. I would recommend those three. Or Fables by Bill Willingham.
Okay, so I have actually been... Like, this is kind of on my download list, but I haven't actually started reading because I put everything on my Kindle, or I purchase it and do it that way. So I'm still
supporting the comic industry.
Yeah, still doing that. So, but I think that's all I think that's the only indie comics. That's the only stuff I've ever pulled or have read.
All right. Maybe I can make some suggestions.
Yeah, let's do
like
it.
I can easily say I've read over 500 trades throughout the years, and that's excluding manga.
Wow. Okay.
I love art and I love stories. So
yeah.
what better way to combine the two with comic books? All right. We brought up Fairy Tail earlier. Favorite anime series?
Oh, this is hard.
I know you're so used to talking about cosplay.
I am so.
I'm keeping you on your toes. This is what I do.
Okay, so I would say that in general, when somebody asks me for my favorite anime, I normally will say Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Yes. Great show.
Yeah, I'll say that's usually everything I need in an anime. I need good character development, so I fall in love with the characters. I need enough action to keep me moving forward. And I need a really strong, amazing female character. And that show gave me everything that I wanted and more.
All right. What about Trigun or Cowboy Bebop?
I love Cowboy Bebop. I think nowadays, when I think about them, to me in my mind, they're a little outdated. Like, Yu Yu Hakusho is one of my favorite animes that I've ever watched. And now I think about it, and I'm watching these new things like My Hero Academia or Death Parade. I'm watching these new things, and I look back in my mind of Yu Yu Hakusho, and I'm like, it's so old.
But I can see where you're coming from on that, but I certainly have an appreciation from some of the older stuff. I mean, like, recently, like, it's been making its rounds, and it's been re-released on Blu-ray that Outlaw Star is back out, and I was like, oh my goodness.
I saw that.
I own the original box sets that came in, and like Gundam Wing has just been recently re-announced, and I was like, I paid back in the day for the 10 DVD box set $200, and I thought it was a steal at the time. I was like, yeah, these are like $20 a pop. This is excellent. You know, like the original Trigun, I paid like $160 for all 8 of those DVDs.
That's how I feel about when they're starting to promote out the 20th anniversary of Batman animated series, like being on Blu-ray and everything like that. I'm like, I want you so bad, because like I've purchased everything coming along now, so I might as well purchase that too. So any
new shows that you're into? I mean, you mentioned My Hero Academia, which is an excellent show.
Yeah, I mean, I'm into My Hero Academia. I'm thinking of other things. I just started Ruby. The graphics kind of are bothering me a little bit, so I'm trying to power through. I feel a little motion sickness when I'm watching it, I'll be honest.
I'm familiar with it. I know it's by Rooster Teeth, but I've never watched anything.
Yeah, and
I think
it's
I watched
so popular.
like a 5-minute short back in the day when it first started, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Yeah. That's right now. That's what I'm watching, just because I'm working so much on cosplay, and we're kind of at the end of cosplay season. So as of today, this is my 4th show in a week in a row. So I have, when I go home, I sleep mostly.
I know how that goes. Like 3 out of 4 weekends a month, I'm hitting up conventions all over the state. All right. Since you're a guest at cons, have you had the opportunity to hang out with voice actors from your favorite shows?
Oh yeah, definitely. Lex Lang is a great friend of mine, and he does Greymon from Digimon. He's known for doing Batman from The Brave and the Bold. He's a great friend of mine. Steve Bloom is a great guy. I've hung out with him a little bit.
Super cool. Thanks again, Steve, for doing that interview.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Should you ever watch this?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely. I think that they're the coolest people because honestly, on the celebrity side of things, they're the closest to cosplayers you get. They are really down to earth. They kind of handle their business the same way that cosplayers handle their business. It's all kind of social media, knowing who you know in the community. So I really like hanging out with those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little hesitant about meeting people that, whose work I admired because it's that old saying, don't meet your heroes because, I don't want to be let down by maybe if I've encountered them on a bad day or they're just a jerk in general.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, no. There goes everything that I hoped that you would potentially be.
Yes, no, I agree. I think I'm an all-around fangirl, so I don't normally meet celebrities if I am not just kind of running into them because even if I'm not a fan of your work, I know that you're famous and I know I'm just going to be like, oh, that person was in Clerks. Oh my God. That's pretty much what happens to me.
Oh man, I would love to meet Kevin Smith and just shoot the breeze with him about comic books.
Oh, yeah.
Just about comic books, not even talk about his movies and stuff. Like, dude, can we just talk about comics, please?
Yeah.
It'd be easy, All right. Now, one of your other interests, I see that Finn Balor is one of your favorite wrestlers. Why is the Demon King one of your favorite wrestlers?
I think he's so awesome. Well, I mean, besides the
Balor
abs, okay?
It was the abs that brought you in. It's just
the abs brought me in. I think he's really, I'm going to cry. This is an awesome question. I love wrestling questions. I think he's just very talented. In the ring, I think that he's talented. And I just got to go to Monday Night Raw, and when he comes out, the fans are just so energetic. They are so passionate about him. I think that he's just really talented. And he was on one of the very first matches I ever watched, and I was done. I was like, all right, I'm Balor Club all the way.
So you're a recent fan within the last few years.
I am. So I would say in the last year, I'm a recent fan.
Okay.
So the first thing I ever really I got a subscription for WWE for Christmas. And we had a WrestleMania party at my house. And that's like the first time I actively started watching every week.
Okay. So do you just strictly follow WWE?
I do currently. I'm right now in the last probably 3 weeks have become really obsessed with luchadors. And now
So like Lucha Underground?
Yeah, Lucha Underground is coming.
There's if you wanted to watch luchadors, I don't know where you could find it on your regular cable, but AAA or Galvision, you can see like in the wrestling culture down in Mexico, because I'm a wrestling fan too, so I can easily shoot the breeze with you about that. I would watch like on Saturday afternoons, and it'd be like a 3-hour block of just wrestling, and it'd always be multi tag matches, like multi-man tag matches.
That's awesome.
And the thing is, like, they would do the most awesome aerial maneuvers, and the crowd's like, amazing.
I know.
Doesn't give it a second thought. Nutshot, they had like 5 replays of it. They even had like what my friend had described as nutshot technology, where they would slow it down, do the little arrow pointing to where the low blow happened.
Oh,
that got more of a reaction out of like the commentators, who I had no idea what they were talking about, than the actual awesome aerial maneuvers.
Yeah, I love that they're high flying. So obviously I've known who Rey Mysterio is, joining into the community. I really haven't watched a lot of him, so over the last week, my whole YouTube feed is all Rey Mysterio stuff.
May I make a few recommendations for wrestling federations to check out?
Yeah, of course.
PWG, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. They have had some awesome stuff. Chikara, they're King of Trios. I think a lot of these things you can get subscriptions to.
Yeah,
but like you can always find stuff online. Old School ROH, Ring of Honor. New Japan Pro Wrestling, which has been on fire.
Now, that stuff I have checked into because Finn Balor has done some stuff over there. So
Fergal Devitt or Prince Fergal over there. Prince Devitt, sorry. Yeah.
Like NXT and those things I've been looking into.
I like how NXT is blown up. Like
Oh
I look
my
forward
goodness.
more to NXT stuff than the actual Raw and SmackDown. No, that's just
Yeah, no, that's what most people are like, oh, you're watching Raw. Can you watch all this other stuff like instead of that? Like, because I have like again, I'm a fangirl, so I am a fangirl like person. So the second I become interested in it, I'm like buying all the shirts, I'm doing all the makeups. Let's do this. I'm going to watch every week. I'm going to know more because I'm following.
Have you pulled off the Demon King yet? Or
I have.
Okay.
I just did it last week.
Oh, okay. So a little lax on my research here.
I'm excited. Yeah, it was awesome. It was so fun.
Any other favorite wrestlers that you enjoy currently?
Well, I right this second, and I know I'm a huge fan of the Shield because they got reunited at the Raw that I was at. I am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
right,
so the Raw, so Shield was leading up to it, and then in Indianapolis they reunited. It was awesome. It was so awesome. I really like the Usos. I think that they're really fantastic on the mic and in the ring. I am a huge fan right now of Kalisto just because of what's been going on.
Yeah, he was Samurai Del Sol on the indie leagues.
Oh, okay.
You know, he was also in PWG too. Like I said, there's been a lot of cool stuff. I would certainly recommend PWG. You could check out Kevin Steen from back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Kevin Owens now. El Generico, who somehow resembles Sami Zayn. I don't know. I mean, like, I think they're cousins. I think El Generico's back taking care of the kids at the orphanage because that's why he went into wrestling. But he passed on his legacy and moveset to Sami Zayn.
Well, we don't like Sami Zayn on the side of the room, so you know.
I've been a huge fan of Sami Zayn, like back in the day when his cousin El Generico.
Yeah, back in the day, but today is the wrong day to be a Sami Zayn fan.
Did you not enjoy the Shinsuke Nakamura Sami Zayn match?
Not really. I'm just not a Sami fan. I just don't like him on the mic. I don't find him super enjoyable to watch in the ring.
Strong words from SuperKayce.
Yeah, I'm sorry, like you guys, but
you know, I can imagine like the wrestling fans that are watching
like
this.
they're just all like they're like popcorn.
He's like, she's not a real fan, you know.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I love that mentality too.
I'm not a real fan.
Not
that's
a real
fine.
fan, you know. Let's stick to cosplay, girl. Don't do wrestling. You know nothing.
I have cosplayed wrestlers before, so I guess I can just intertwine them.
I've always been a fan of Bray Wyatt, but they've never did anything with him.
You're now my enemy.
I don't care.
Finn Balor's my boy. If you like Bray Wyatt,
I can enjoy Finn Balor. Did I say anything bad about Finn Balor? No, I have not.
No.
I've enjoyed wrestlers.
You like his enemy.
I like people all over the spectrum.
Okay.
You know, I have deep respect for pro wrestlers because of what they have to put their bodies through just to entertain us.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I know it just breaks them down over the years, and it's sad to see like pro wrestlers like in their 70s and they still have to do it because they can't. There's no other job.
Like Kane just came back, and it's like, you're an old dude.
Yeah, but he always took care of himself.
He did.
Too.
He did. Yeah.
He didn't really get massive injuries.
I mean, he comes back, and it's kind of like one of those things. Like they're bringing you back, and it's you're having to put so much stress on your body and things like that. I watched an interview with Charlotte Flair one time, and she talked about all the things she was going through, and I was like, jeez, like I have such mad respect for her now just because she was talking and kind of gave you an insight to who she was, and I was just like.
I don't like the fact that they've re-emphasized the Divas division over the past few years because back in the day, I mean, I had mad respect for Lita, Trish Stratus, I forgot her name, Mickey.
Oh, Mickie James.
Thank you, Mickie James, you know. And then for a while, they were just focusing on, it seemed like, the supermodels, and some of them could wrestle, but most of the time they couldn't. I was like, I enjoy wrestling. I don't care what your gender is. You step in that ring, please do a good job of putting on a match and a story. So, and I like the fact that, I have not watched it, but the Mae Young thing.
It was so good.
But I like the fact that they're bringing this stuff back and they're giving legitimacy over the past few years to women's wrestling, because some of the stuff I've seen in Japan with I forgot her name. She invented the Kudo driver, and she.
Are you talking about Asuka?
No, not Asuka. She used to be known as Kana back in the day,
okay.
But Asuka.
Dude,
amazing.
I'm so excited. Like, she's about to debut for Raw. I'm so excited.
But didn't she break like a collarbone or something recently?
I don't know, actually. I haven't been following her since they were, because she's been taking a little bit of time off. I know that from when she was announced. But she's supposed to debut like
because she broke her collarbone or something.
Oh, she's supposed to debut at TLC like next week.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe she'll show up in a.
Oh no.
Don't need your arms to kick someone's head off so much.
I mean, she's going against Emma. She doesn't really need anything.
Do you listen to wrestling podcasts?
I do. I listen to a couple. Do you want me to name drop some people? Okay, I can totally do that. I listen to WrestlingAudio.com. Balls and Mo Lightning are some of my favorite podcasters. I listen to It's Freaking Wrestling, and there's another one that doesn't really say it's a wrestling podcast, but they do kind of touch base on it. So I'm not going to drop their name in the wrestling podcast because they might be angry with me.
Okay,
because they don't actually promote themselves as wrestling.
I'm at the wrestling the podcast that I've listened to with wrestlers would be The Art of Wrestling with Colt Cabana.
Okay,
that's a treasure trove of definitely checking out indie wrestlers, and some of their stories are hilarious. And one of my inspirations for doing interviews, because he does good research, is the Steve Austin Show on Podcast One, because that dude does his research. I've always been a fan of Stone Cold from back in the day, but then when I started listening to his interviews, I was like, these are pretty good because this dude does his research, and he's one of my inspirations for doing interviews and stuff like that. And so is Colt Cabana for the conversation.
Every time I post out, like, because I am such a huge fan of wrestling audio, I have a t-shirt and things like that, and I'll post out things, and every time I post out a small podcast, people will mention his podcast to me, so I should definitely listen.
Steve Austin has and he doesn't just strictly interview wrestlers, he interviews all sorts of people. And like, if you wanted to get like some behind the scenes wrestler stories, because these are wrestlers talking to Steve, so they're not going the same scripted answers, they're like retelling stories and like some of the things that you've heard on the road, that they've done on the road. It's very interesting to listen to.
That's awesome.
So as we're wrapping up this interview, although I'm having a lot of fun with this, favorite charities that you like to work with?
So we've worked with, the Nightmage and I have worked with United Way for Indianapolis, and that is a phenomenal charity. We've given back to needy families who need help during Christmas time. I personally have done a lot of charities for spina bifida, because during one of my first events, I met a little girl with spina bifida. So I've done a lot of things for the Spinal Bifida Foundation. And then my personal favorite, where I give money to every year, is Pancreatic Research Foundation. Okay. My father passed from pancreatic cancer. So since I have been a cosplayer, I've raised $5,537 for it. I did the math just 2 days ago, so I'm really excited. Okay.
Just throwing out a random number.
Just let me throw out a random number. No, so the charity I give a portion of everything I sell at my table during the whole year. That all goes to pancreatic cancer research. So
it's very noble of you.
Well, I mean, yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, I'm sorry to hear about the passing of your father.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, it's something I talk about because everybody deals with losing a loved one at some point. So
sadly, that's very true.
It is. And if we can be there for each other, and you've learned how to help with grief just in general. It's an empowering thing to be able to help someone because of what you've been able to do, what you've had to go through.
I totally agree with that. All right. Final 3 questions.
Oh, goodness. Dun, okay. Dun, dun. Okay, let's do it.
So what new cosplays are you working on that you want to talk about? I know you mentioned Hawkwoman.
Yes.
Hawkgirl and Hawkman.
We're going to do Hawkgirl and Hawkman.
Why is it Hawkman and Hawkgirl?
I have no idea. Let's not talk about this because I might throw this mic, I don't want to ruin your equipment.
Yeah, please don't. Oh. Like, I have to buy another one. Otherwise, I'll have to dip into the donation jar to get my money back for the microphone.
No, Hawkman and Hawkgirl we're working on. I personally am working on Cammy from Street Fighter. I'm working on May from Overwatch.
Okay.
Nightmage and I pretty much fuel each other's passion, so we have so many duo stuff that we can do next year. We want to do a Last Unicorn group where he's the Red Bull and my sister is the Last Unicorn and I'm Smindrick the Magician.
Wow.
Which is really fun and cool and kind of unique.
I was asking for Nightmage to dress up as Randy Watson from Coming to America, who was the lead singer of the band Sexual Chocolate. So if people you've never seen Coming to America?
I have not.
Oh,
is it an 80s movie?
It's an 80s Eddie Murphy movie that is probably one of his best. When back in the day when I found Eddie Murphy to be hilarious, when he was just he didn't tone it down for family and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend Coming to America because you will think of the band the term Sexual Chocolate. It was just a band. Differently. Eddie played so many characters. That was like one of the few his earlier movies where he played so many characters.
Okay.
Highly
When
recommend.
we get done, you'll have to ask Nightmage about me and 80s movies. He will lose his mind because he hates that I haven't watched 80s movies.
Do you have an aversion to that? Because
no, I just haven't watched a ton of.
Okay.
I'm not old like you guys.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate that. Thanks. All right. So if your fans who should be turned off after this interview, if the ones that are left over would want to reach out to you online, where can they find you?
Just Instagram and Facebook under SuperKayce Cosplay.
Okay, well that's
easy.
Right to the point.
Yep. Just.
Final question: what would you like to say to your fans throughout the years?
Oh wow.
Loaded question.
It is. I mean, I call my fans from the beginning have been my super friends. From the beginning, they have been my family. They have encouraged me to do all of this. This is my way to give back to childhood me. It's literally a way to say, you know what, you dealt with a lot. You raised a little sister, and you deserve to give back to something. And it's my way of saying thank you. I mean, to who I am as a person. And my fans have literally helped make me who I am today.
Most
so.
excellent.
My super fans, my super friends, my super family, thank you so much. And yeah, thanks for watching.
All right. Well, folks, this is Joe from MIGeekScene with SuperKayce at the Grand Rapids Comic Con. Take it easy.